It started with a complaint. Not from the neighbors. Not from management. But from him. Alden Ray. Tall. Type A. Always wearing cardigans. Alden. My accidental roommate for the Midwood Writers Winter Fellowship. A man who wore sarcasm like cologne and walked like he owned the page. And who, apparently, couldn't handle a little snoring. You sound like a tractor choking on peanut butter, he muttered on day 3, tossing a pillow between us in the tiny twin share room. It's not human. You're dramatic. I'm exhausted. I shrugged. Try earplugs. He glared. I did. You defeated them. If you're already loving the tension, leave a comment. Tell us where you're watching from, and if you've ever shared a room with someone who annoyed you, then wrecked you. Hit subscribe for more queer love stories that go from slow burn to flame. Smash that like button. Seriously. If you don't, you'll feel it later. And share this with someone who deserves to feel seen. Trust me, you'll want to witness what comes next. Back to us. Despite the tension, we didn't ask to be reassigned. Maybe we were both too proud. Maybe we were both too curious. The problem was, he was kind of perfect. In that annoying way. Sharp jaw. High cheekbones. Glasses that magnified those blue-gray eyes that looked colder than they were. And that voice, God, that voice. It wasn't deep, but it had a weight to it. Like every word he spoke had been edited for maximum damage. And at night, when he thought I was asleep, he talked to himself, whispered bits of dialogue and phrases into his phone. The poet in him never shut up. And I liked it. Liked him in a maddening way. We made it to the end of week 1 without killing each other. Barely. Alden was a creature of habit. Morning lemon water, precisely measured oats, and writing from 9 to 1 o'clock. No exceptions. Me? I was chaos in sweatpants. I wrote in bed, on the floor, or sometimes while pacing in circles with headphones in, mumbling dialogue to myself like a man on the edge. And yet, we didn't request separate rooms. That fact hung between us like a question neither of us had the guts to answer. Until the tea spill. It was 1:43 a.m. I was sitting cross-legged on my bed, scribbling in my notebook by fairy lights. Alden had just gotten up to use the bathroom, wearing only plaid boxers and a white tank top that clung a little too tightly in the places that made it hard to focus. He didn't see my mug on the floor. Didn't hear me say, "Careful." The next thing I knew, hot chamomile had soaked the floor, his foot slipped, and he landed with a grunt, directly on top of me. A wet slap of limbs and surprise. Our faces close. Breaths tangled. My palms flat on his bare sides. He blinked. I blinked. Neither of us moved. "Are you okay?" I asked, breathless. His voice came out low. "You smell like cinnamon and regret." I laughed. And so did he. And that's when it shifted. He didn't get up. He didn't pull away. His eyes dropped to my mouth. Mine did the same. "You have a freckle right here," he murmured, touching just beside my lip. I swallowed. "Do you always study people this closely?" I asked. "Only when I'm about to do something I shouldn't." He leaned in, then stopped, waiting, testing me. So I did what I wanted to do since he first threw a pillow at my face and called me a sleep-deprived gremlin. I kissed him. It wasn't neat. It wasn't choreographed. It was mouths colliding, breath hitching, lips sliding a kiss that tasted like heat and surprise, and every frustrated night we'd spent not touching each other. He kissed me back like I was a deadline he couldn't miss. Hand to my hair, my fingers digging into his shoulders, bodies pressed together with no room for second thoughts. We broke apart eventually, panting. His forehead rested against mine. "That was unexpected," he whispered. "You started it. Technically, you snorted into existence." We laughed again, quiet, giddy, almost drunk off the taste of each other. He brushed his thumb across my cheek. "So what happens now?" I didn't have an answer. Not then, but my body did. I kissed him again, harder, and he moaned into it. The sound, God. It was soft, deep, and so utterly undone that I felt it everywhere. So yes, maybe I snored. But now he was the one making all the noise. Alden didn't stop me when I pushed him back onto the bed. He watched me with those sharp, stormy eyes, always calculating, always in control, except now he wasn't. Now his hands gripped the edge of my shirt like he needed something to hold on to, like he didn't trust himself not to fall. "Are you sure?" I asked. His answer was a whisper. "I've never been more sure of anything." So I climbed on top of him, straddling his lap, felt the heat of his thighs, the firmness beneath me, the thrum of desire thick and impossible to ignore. We kissed again, this time slower, longer. His mouth moved like he was learning me, and I let him. Let his tongue slide against mine, his fingers stroke my sides like he'd memorized my shape just by hearing me breathe in the dark for a week. My shirt came off. Then his. His hands moved over my chest, not grabbing, just feeling, mapping. Like he was trying to find language for a body he'd only ever looked at across a room. "You're unreal," he murmured against my skin. I dipped my head, lips at his collarbone. "Tell me again when I've wrecked you." He exhaled, a laugh, a groan, something between want and warning. And then his hands were everywhere. On my back, pulling me down. In my hair, tugging gently. On my waist, guiding me as I rocked against him. The friction, the way our bodies aligned. It was slow torture, a dance of push and pull. Every movement testing the edges of control. Every breath laced with anticipation. I whispered his name. He bit my shoulder. And then, as if it were nothing at all, he flipped us. Now he was on top. And I saw a different Alden. Not the rigid, rule-following academic. Not the neat poet. But a man undone. Wild. Hungry. Eyes burning with heat and reverence. He kissed down my chest, slow, tasting every inch. My stomach fluttered. My breath turned to shivers. His mouth traced the lines of my hips, stopping just before going lower. He looked up at me, eyes dark. "I want to hear what you sound like when you're the one losing control." Then he took me in his mouth. And I did lose it. My head fell back. My hands fisted the sheets. And a sound escaped me that was more than just pleasure. It was release. A surrender. All the weeks of tension, all the nights of pretending not to want him gone. He worked me with that same calculated rhythm he used when editing his poems, precise, focused, but devastatingly good at it. "God, Alden," I gasped, legs trembling. He hummed around me. And that nearly ended me. I didn't last long. I couldn't. Not with him like that. When I came, it was with a cry that split the silence, one hand clawing at his shoulder, the other buried in his hair. He didn't stop. Not until I was shaking. Not until I was breathless and wrecked beneath him. He pulled up beside me, wiped the corner of his mouth with that smug, swollen lip smirk. "Still think your snoring's the worst sound I've heard in this room?" he whispered. I turned to him, smiling. "Now, it's my favorite thing about me." He kissed my temple, pulled me into his chest, and let out a long, contented sigh. Good, because now I plan to keep hearing it. We didn't fall asleep right away. We just lay there, limbs tangled, the kind of silence between us that felt earned, not awkward. The heater clicked quietly in the corner. Outside, snow fell like feathers, and inside, Alden's chest rose and fell against my back in a steady rhythm that made me feel safe. He traced lazy circles on my shoulder with his fingers. I feel like I've been waiting to do that since day one. I turned my head to look at him. Since I snored loud enough to shake the windows, he smiled. A real one. Not the crooked smirk or sarcastic tilt I was used to, but soft, unguarded. "You were annoying as hell, Prescott. And yet, here we are." I think I was annoyed because I noticed everything about you. You made it hard to ignore. Like a chainsaw. Like a siren. He said it so quietly I barely caught it. But I did. And it hit somewhere beneath my ribs. I shifted so I could see him fully, his face half lit by the fairy lights, hair tousled, lips kiss-swollen. "What are we doing?" I asked. He blinked. "What do you mean? This isn't just a hookup." He hesitated, then reached for my hand, threading our fingers together. "No, it's not. I'll let that sit for a beat." Then whispered, "So what now?" He brushed his thumb along the back of my hand. "Now we figured out. Together. Slowly. No pressure. Just more of this. More nights. More groaning. I laughed. So did he. It felt good. Like we cracked some invisible wall. Like the air in the room had changed shape. I rolled onto my back, pulling the sheet over us. You know, if anyone asks how this started, we're telling them the truth. That you seduced me with your earth-shattering snoring. That you begged me for mercy and then begged me to never stop. He let out a groan. You're impossible, yet irresistible. And when he leaned in again, kissed me under the low light and the scent of our skin, I felt it deep in my chest. This wasn't about just attraction. It was about the comfort we'd found in each other, built by accident but solid, real. The next morning, we woke up wrapped around each other, bare skin against bare skin, warm and unhurried. The kind of morning you don't want to end. Alden stretched, kissed my jaw, and said, "Guess I don't need earplugs anymore." Because you're in love with the snoring? Because now I'm the one too loud to sleep. I smirked. Told you you'd be the one doing all the groaning. He leaned down, mouth brushing my ear. And I'm not done yet. He kissed me again. And again. Each one slower than the last. Like he was trying to savor the taste of sleep-warmed skin, of early light glinting on collarbones, of the silence that no longer held tension, only promise. We didn't rush. We explored, mouths trailing over shoulders and ribs, hands gliding, pressing, learning curves and hollows as though we'd never have the chance again. He made love to me like he knew me now, and I gave myself to him like I didn't want to be anywhere else. We moved as one, under the covers, under the dim morning light, under whatever spell we'd been cast into since the first night we shared a room. When he came, he whispered my name like it was a confession. And when I followed, shaking in his arms, he kissed my temple and held me tight like he finally had something worth staying for. Later, when clothes had returned and coffee was brewing, I watched him from the small kitchenette. Hair still damp from a quick shower, glasses fogged, sweater half tucked. Alden was beautiful in the kind of way no poem could quite pin down. "You're staring," he said without looking up. "Get used to it." He gave me a crooked grin. "You hungry?" "Starving." "I'll make waffles." I blinked. "You cook." "I make emotional waffles. They come with syrup and post-sex guilt." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my mug. "God, you're a disaster." "You're a disaster," he murmured, handing me a fork. I paused. The way he said it, like a truth. Like a choice. The residency ended a week later. We packed slowly, staring at empty walls and boxes of books and wondering what the hell we were doing. When a van pulled up to take us back to the station, he stood in front of me, holding his duffel in one hand and my wrist in the other. "You don't have to say it," I whispered. "I want to." His voice cracked just a little. "I don't want this to be a midwood thing. I want it to be an us thing. Room or no room." I kissed him, right there in the driveway, in front of the snow and the wind and the driver tapping his fingers against the steering wheel. "You snore," he said again, when we pulled apart. "You groan louder." He grinned. "And you're coming home with me, right?" I nodded. "Lead the way." He reached into his pocket, held out a brass key. "To my place. My actual place. I want you to see what I sound like when I sleep. And when I don't. If you made it this far and your heart's doing flips or your face is warm, you're not alone. Here's your gentle nudge. Drop a comment. Tell us your favorite moment or line. Tell us where you're watching from. Hit that like button so more people feel seen. Share this with your quiet roommate or that person who should have been more than a friend. And subscribe if you want more of these slow burnt to steam love stories. Because connection is everything. And in this space, you deserve to feel it all.